You know, I've had my eye on Warhammer 40k for a long time. I've dug through an extensive amount of lore, peered into factions and sub-factions, and even combed into races and forces that are unplayable on the table, and barely glanced at in the books. And in all that time, I've noticed a trend. Wow, Chaos Space Marine warbands don't get any love.
That are alive, you're coming with me.
ZX Thunderman Commodore 128 and 64. I hit the floor, I hit the shore. Got gaming skills from days of yore. I close the deck, computer rolls, play until my hands are sore.
Welcome to Beef Snake Nerdcast. I'm Bolter, and we are in for a bit of a short video today. See, when the mind map, the algorithm I use to select my topics, lands on a group of Space Marines, I tend to get excited. Space Marines are so diverse, and they have several boatloads of lore behind them. I can easily turn them into a substantial video, and there's so many of them. I mean, that is, they end up in an orc book, in which case they get killed off pretty unceremoniously. Point is, when I landed on the topic for this video, I thought, oh good, plenty to dig into on these guys. So, who are the Foresworn anyway? Well, let's start with a bit of backstory, since this is the first time I'm actually talking about the Chaos Space Marines. During the Great Crusade, one of the Emperor's sons, Horus, was placed in charge of the war effort. Horus was a great general, a renowned warrior, and most dangerous of all, a really cool guy. Almost everybody liked him. This made it devastating when he fell away from the Emperor's dream of united humanity and swore himself to the four dark gods of chaos. Horus will get a full rundown in a later video, but his charismatic leadership swayed 9 of his Primarch brothers to join him in his quest to kill the Emperor and burn the galaxy. One of the forces of Space Marines to join him were the faith-driven True Believers, the Word Bearers. The Word Bearers' leader, the Primarch Lorgar, had heard the whispers of chaos for a long time, and the Word Bearers jumped at the chance to spread the primordial truth, as they would put it. To cut a long story short, the coup against the Emperor would ultimately fail, and the forces pledged to chaos would be pushed back into a tear of reality, called the Eye of Terror. Without a unified purpose, and treason being the new hip thing amongst the traitor forces, the original 9 Space Marine legions began to splinter into Chaos Warbands. Small, ambitious groups of heretical Astartes, all fighting for their own goals and glories. Enter the Foresworn, a Chaos Warband that broke away from the Word Bearers. The Foresworn didn't fall far from the gnarled, Bible-black-thumping tree, though, as they are still worshippers of Chaos Undivided, seeking approval from the whole Chaos Pantheon, instead of just one of the gods. Unfortunately, they only have one noteworthy event to their name, the Edalim campaign. Under the leadership of the Demon Prince Cor Magron, the Foresworn assaulted the system of, Edalim. They were very effective, though, acting as the vanguard for the Chaos forces, pushing forward with a fondness of heavy weapons and direct firepower. Their crazed dreadnoughts mashed defenses, and the Specialist Terminator Squad, the Sons of Damnation, opened up with punishing weapons fire. But that's really all we know about these guys. A preference for brute force tactics and the service to a demon prince. Their armor color is the same as the Word Bearers. Their heraldry is the same as the Word Bearers. Even the practice of placing pages of inspirational passages from the dark unholy work of their gene father, the Book of Lorgar, on their armor is all stuff the Word Bearers do. It feels like whoever was in charge of the Foresworn when they split from the Word Bearers decided, I'm gonna make my own Chaos Warband, with blackjack and hookers, and then didn't follow through or even repaint their armor. This tragic trend is pretty widespread amongst the Chaos Space Marines. Despite how much they wanted more freedom from the Imperium for personal prestige, or glory, or some kind of messed up way of waging war, most are still stuck in the shadows of the original 9 traitor legions, keeping paint schemes and iconographies from their forefathers, And their ways of war tend to not even be that unique. They throw, messed up cultists at you and big, horrible demon engines and heavy firepower, but they don't do anything that makes them themselves. Nothing stands out about them. We don't even get that many interesting hero characters like we would for other legions, like the Iron Serpents or the Black Dragons. It's really a shame, because I want to read about Chaos Warbands. They get me excited when I look them up, but I'm still kind of stuck over here being like, yeah, the Alpha Legion are cool and the Thousand Sons are cool, but what about the rest of them? Thank you for hearing the words of the ruinous powers. I have been Dark Apostle Bolter, and I speak the primordial truth upon the socials. Pledge yourself to Chaos Undivided by liking and subscribing below, and ring the bell of Nurgle to hear my next sermon on the beast Kitongu of Bionicle. Death to the false emperor!
Yeah.